Welcome to this week's episode of Just Winning. I'm your host, John Whitley, and I could not be more fired up today to be on here with Okelo Panay. Okelo, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, John. I'm excited to be a part of Just Winning again, and this time have the main host with you. So I'm ready to talk, man, and I'm just as fired up as anybody.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it. And on my left, I have our LA expert, Robert. Robert, how you doing today?
Doing good, John. Glad to be back on Just Winning. Always happy to be a part of this, and looking forward to talking with y'all.
Awesome. Happy to have you here. And I was also happy that last night, our Monday night football game, going into that game, uh, I was worried it could get ugly. Bucks, Giants. Giants haven't showed much this year besides they may or may not be tanking, and the Bucks have been rolling lately. But I think we got all we could ask for that Monday night game. Super entertaining game. Giants were a 2-point conversion away from sending it into overtime. Okayla, what stood out to you from last night's game?
What stood out to me was that the Giants have a little bit of heart, and compared to what we may think about Daniel Jones, is that there's a little something there. I think it wasn't a complete full effort. Obviously, he had the two interceptions, but I mean those fourth down conversions to Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, Danny Dimes was starting to live up to his nickname. I think these Giants are proving in the NFC least that they're gonna still fight and they're gonna still find a way. I mean, they're 1-6 club now. There's only been one team in NFL history that has gone 1-6 and wound up going to the playoffs, and that was the 1970 Bengals. But in 2020, anything is possible. So if Daniel Jones can step up and play in these big games, who knows? Maybe the wheels might start turning in the second half of the season for these Giants. But I like what I saw. The defense looked great. They gave Tom Brady fits in the first half. So, there's some progress, I guess, going for Joe Judge and his staff. And that's my takeaways from this team, because I think the Giants are showing that they're going to fight somehow, some way, and you're going to see growth from this team and Daniel Jones in all phases.
I guess you could say it was a spiritual victory. Robert, what stood out to you last night?
Yeah, I mean, I think Okelo hit it on there. Giants did well against the Bucks. I think they gave them a harder time than a lot of people expected. Um, Probably should have been a tie game there. The Antoine Winfield missed call there. I know he's probably going to be, he's up for Defensive Rookie of the Year, but that was total pass interference in the end zone. Wasn't even really looking at the ball. Didn't make a play on the ball. Definitely going to be a controversial decision. But no, I think the Giants played well. I mean, that was one of their better games this season. They played a Bucks team that's first in their division. They played them probably the toughest they've played all season. So, I think the Giants are, even at 1-6. I think the wheels, kind of like Okelo said, I think the wheels can kind of start turning there to where they say, okay, maybe we can actually make a run at second or first in this division because it is so bad. I think the Eagles are going to end up winning that division still. But you got the Cowboys with a third string quarterback who look just completely lost. Washington doesn't look great either. And the Giants are right down there too. So it's kind of just this battle of really bad teams. And the Giants can kind of start taking advantage of that if they can get some of these better matchups and just play tough every week. I mean, they look good. I think Joe Judge and the Giants should be proud of their performance.
Mhm. Yeah, no doubt. And I think first year head coaches are having a real tough year because they didn't get the preseason, they didn't get the extra time in the offseason because of the COVID-19. But that said, I do have to pump the brakes on the Danny Dimes hype a little bit because frankly, he looked terrible last night. He had some good moments, but overall, two interceptions and missed a lot of throws that weren't intercepted. So, I gotta pump the brakes on that just a little bit. Robert,
There
what do
were
you
some errors that he did make, John. I agree, but I have to admit that last drive, I was starting to see something. It was just where was this all game long? That's one of my things where I was like, if Danny Dimes could just bring that into the rest of his games and make sure that he doesn't make those bad decisions and know when to throw away the football, I think he can have a chance and maybe make games just as more competitive as this.
here's the thing though. If most other quarterbacks in the NFL were the Giants quarterback last night, they would have won that game.
That's true.
As, uh, But the other thing I'll say about this game is on the Bucks side, I think it was great to see Brady and Gronk are still clicking. Gronk got a touchdown for the third week in a row. Robert, what stood out to you on the Bucks side?
Yeah, I think, like you said, just that chemistry that Brady and Gronk just still have. I think they passed they passed Steve Young and Jerry Rice last night for most connections between a quarterback and his receiver. It's listen, even at their age, even with Gronk missing a whole season and now being back in the NFL, I think the chemistry's still there. That chemistry never really goes away. And, Gronk to start the season was really a non-factor. He even said himself, he's like, I'm here to block. That's what I'm here to do. But now he's getting more and more involved in the offense, and Brady is learning to trust him again. They're finding that chemistry, and I think that's going to be dangerous going forward. A team that already has Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, you're like, oh, they're set, but now you add in Gronkowski into that equation, and he's actually putting up offense. I think that just shows how dangerous this offense is for the Bucks. And moving forward, I think they're in probably the best position to make a run for the Super Bowl in the NFC. I think they got the depth, and you get Gronkowski going, you get Brady going, you get that chemistry, and then you add in again the other receivers into that. Yeah, you got yourself a real nice team. Even with Ronald Jones not playing well and fumbling, I think they look real good.
Absolutely, especially with Antonio Brown about to come back for them. Okay,
Exactly.
What do you expect from Antonio Brown in this Bucks offense?
You guys know my feelings about AB, but all I know is that he's a good player. Obviously, as long as he doesn't become a distraction, we all know what Antonio Brown's capable of. Honestly, with the connection that he has with Tom Brady, even though it was just one game, he could be a difference maker for them. Obviously, like I said, feelings aside, we all know how great of a player he is. He's an all-pro receiver, Pro Bowl receiver. He can add that extra dimension to that offense that's already as lethal as it is. I mean, we don't know how long Chris Godwin could be out with his finger. They said it's a week-to-week thing. It could be 4 to 6 weeks. Those 4 to 6 weeks, he could have Mike Evans to throw the ball to. He also has Scotty Miller down low in the slot. He has Cameron Brate, even if they need that second tight end option. So when Antonio Brown comes in, I mean, like I said, barring distractions aside, and if he can click with the offense well, he could just be the Antonio Brown like when he was with my Steelers. And it pains me to say that, but, at the end of the day, the talent's there, and it's just a matter of just getting on the same page and, adding more to what Tom Brady can do. And that's put points on the board for your offense.
Absolutely. And I think it's huge that they do have those other playmakers around him so they can kind of ease him into the offense. There's not a lot of pressure on him to produce from his first week back. Now, moving into week 9, we've got round 2 of Saints Bucks. Week 1, when they played, the Saints got the best of them. And, we were questioning if the Bucks were for real. Now the Bucks look like a different team. Do you think we'll see a different result, Robert?
Yeah, I think we might. I think the Saints, while they're a good team, I think the Saints defense leaves a lot to be desired. I think the Saints as a whole leave a lot to be desired. I think Drew Brees just doesn't look like himself. You start to question how far he can lead this team. They have similar records, but I think with the Bucks being first of that division right now, they're the favorites coming in, and I think they're going to be looking for revenge. They'll be in Tampa. I think Tampa will get the upper hand there. They have to play way better than they did against the Giants. I think they kind of played down to their opponent a little bit last night, but I think the Bucks are in real good position to take the victory this weekend against the Saints. It should be different. I mean, like you said in the first game between these two, which was the first game of the season, they looked disjointed. Tom Brady didn't look good. He wasn't finding his rhythm. There wasn't chemistry there. Mike Evans dropped a couple open passes. They looked really, really off. But now the chemistry is there. They're building that team up, and now they're in sync. So as far as I can see it, yeah, I think the Bucks take it this time around.
Okay, Lo, what say you?
It's so weird how these two teams have gone in a different direction since that first game. Obviously, like with Tom Brady, it's taken some time. The last couple weeks, man, he's found his groove enough to where now the Bucks are winning games, and I think that their defense is helping. Adding Steve McClendon to that front with the loss of Vita Vea, you're starting to see how they've been playing better in the run game. and that their secondary that they've been able to do takeaways and they're able to produce well. My concern with the Saints isn't the fact that as much as their defense, Robert, it's just a matter of their offense. We don't know what's going on with the issues with Mike Thomas right now. Drew Brees had to find a way to win that game, basically using other guys. Weirdly enough, he's not throwing to Jared Cook a lot, which is usually his security blanket. You would think Jared Cook would be producing more with Mike Thomas out. But, they got to find something to get going, or they're just going to have to run the ball with Alvin Kamara, because you're not seeing Drew Brees at his peak. And I think that's what I'm concerned about going into this game, because I feel like Drew Brees needs this game to be the wake-up call for him. And if this doesn't light the fire under him, because the Saints have been playing in a lot of close games, and you could see so much better overall from this Saints team. I think Tampa Bay is going to catch him. Obviously, this game being outdoors, maybe the weather in Tampa might be rainy or windy, as the weather's been changing here in South Florida. I just think the Bucs have the hot hand right now, and they've been on a roll. They've been on a 3-game win streak, and I think that they continue that win streak going into the next game.
I agree, but I do want to throw out a bold prediction for you guys. I think this week, not only are we going to see our first Michael Thomas sighting, I think we're going to see our first Jameis sighting. I think here's what's going to happen. The Bucs jump out to a lead, and then the Saints, if Drew Brees is struggling, they are not going to hesitate to put Jameis in there, because, like you said, Drew Brees has been the Achilles heel of this offense. He doesn't look like himself, and I think Jameis is going to be a different man in Sean Payton's system.
I would be hard-pressed to say that. I mean, wow.
I think I'll put my skin on. I haven't put my skin on the line much this year. I'm going to do it this week. We're going to get to see Jameis Winston in the game for the New Orleans Saints.
Do you think it's partially for revenge, John? Do you think he might get some form of revenge?
I think it's not for revenge, but I think that just makes the story all the better, because it's a big divisional opponent. If Drew Brees isn't playing well, you can't stick with him because of history. You gotta do what you gotta do against that divisional opponent where you need a big win.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited to see what happens. Our other big game of Week 9, Seahawks, Bills. Great defense against a great offense. An offense that's struggling against a defense that's struggling. Robert, what do you expect to see in this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. The Bills, their defense hasn't been great really that season, as much as it's been touted to be. The Seahawks defense isn't really that good at all. With Jamal Adams still being out, it's, they're going to get better. But I think they're just not a good passing defense. And Josh Allen's one of the best passers in football right now. He's really stepped it up this year. He's looked great. Their running back situation is still a question mark now. They're starting Zach Moss. They started him this past weekend against the Patriots. They didn't look great against the Patriots. They didn't look great, but I think this is a battle of two tough teams. And I think, both are gunning for first in their divisions. It's a big game for both. I think for this game, I think I can see the Bills winning this. If Josh Allen can get into a rhythm and him and Diggs can really connect here, I think they can hurt that Seahawks defense a lot. Now, the other side of the ball, you're talking about Russell Wilson versus the Bills defense. And like I said, the Bills defense has left a lot to be desired. And Russell Wilson's that guy, in the running for MVP. Absolutely. So we'll see what he can do against it. It's a tough matchup for both teams, though, and I think it's going to be a great game. And I would say it's probably going to be a more entertaining game this weekend than that Bucs Saints game. I'm really looking forward to this one.
If you have to pick right now today, who wins?
I'm going to say the Bills.
Bills. Okay, Lo, who wins that game?
It's going to be a game where I think we're going to see Josh Allen turn back the clock and turn into his early MVP candidacy that he was putting out, because I think that this is a showcase of two great quarterbacks, who have great arms and have great weapons around us. We get to hopefully I'll get to see Stephon Diggs come to life, as well as hopefully, if John Brown's healthy, of course, Gabe Davis. But I'm putting Seattle on it because, like I said, Russell Wilson, I don't see how anybody's stopping him unless you follow the formula for the Cardinals. So it's going to be a back-and-forth game, but I think experience favors the bold. It is in Buffalo, but Russell Wilson played at Wisconsin, so he's accustomed to that cold, chilly weather. in Western New York. So I think the only thing that would help the Seahawks is if Jamal Adams comes back, because I think he's going to be a big presence for that defense. So with or without Jamal Adams, though, I think Seattle still is going to take this.
I agree. I'm going with Seattle 31-21 simply because, as much as I love watching Josh Allen plays because he gives you a little bit of everything, I simply just don't think he can outduel Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is our midseason MVP frontrunner, and Josh Allen simply will not be able to keep up. I want to thank both of you for joining me for some NFL talk. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll tell you what to watch for in the Pac-12 this weekend and our Beast, Bust, and Best of the Week.
I've already had a good week. This you gonna get an L, Sean. I've never been 0-2 in any fantasy league of records that I've been in, and it ain't gonna start this week. I promise you. Projections don't mean nothing. Come back next week when you catch another L, Nick, like you've been doubting my Nuggets, okay? Just get ready to catch another L.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, 'cause it is. What you say? That it's just what we need. You decided this. What you say? What did she say?
I am absolutely flabbergasted and shocked, frankly, that the Rams are the underdogs. I say the Rams win at +2.5. It's not even close. Bet the house on the Rams. The Bills lose this one. I don't know why. It confuses me. I don't know.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best.
The Astros are going to cry. They're going to lose in 4, and they're going to go home, and they're going to cry and think about what they've done.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best.
Okay, so that's wrong. And I'm going Marlins because why not? The Fish don't lose in the postseason. Represent.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best, 'cause it is.
Welcome back as we welcome the Pac-12 back this week. Among our most notable games, Arizona State, USC, and Oregon and Stanford. Robert, you're our LA sports guy. What are you most looking forward to seeing the Pac-12 debut?
Well, as a USC fan as well, I'm looking forward to USC versus Arizona State. USC's ranked in the top 20. I don't know what to expect from this USC team this year. It seems they find every way under Clay Helton to disappoint me every season. So I really don't know what to expect from them. Being that it's a 7-game season, it's going to be real short, and hopefully it'll be real sweet. They don't have to play Oregon. They don't have to play Cal. It's a pretty easy schedule for them. Really, Utah's the only semi-decent team they're going to play. They get Washington State at some point. They get Arizona. They get UCLA. Just not a lot of world beaters in the Pac-12. And I think that's why the Pac-12, in terms of the Power 5 conferences, are pretty low on the totem pole. But no, I think USC's at the Coliseum this weekend. It's always fun to watch, games at the Coliseum, an historic stadium like that. I think I have to go with USC. I got to go with my team. I think you have to watch that game, and I think it's going to be important because USC really has a good team, I think, and they got a real good offense. Obviously, it's a wide receiver school. Keaton Slovis is coming into his second season. He looked great last year. I'm excited to see what he can do in year 2. I think USC, Arizona State's going to be the one to watch this weekend.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm super excited to see what USC brings to the table this year. It feels like every year at the beginning of the season, it could be the year where, USC is back and has a big season. I do think as far as a playoff run, the shortened season and then the easy schedule, as you said, is ultimately going to hurt them in the long run. Would you agree?
Yeah, as far as like getting into like a college playoff, oh, absolutely, it'll hurt. I mean, they're not going to get in over, some of these Big Ten teams and some of these SEC teams. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see it, but with Oklahoma State losing in the Big 12 out of it, it leaves the door cracked just a little bit for a Pac-12 team. Okay, though, what are you most looking forward to seeing the Pac-12 debut?
I'm most looking forward to seeing Jaden Daniels out of Arizona State if we're talking about this game because, the way Herm Edwards has been hyping him up, especially last year, I'm excited about this kid. If he has the arm that he says he does, I'm starting to see a little bit of progression for him. I think he's definitely I think since Justin Herbert left the best quarterback as of right now in the Pac-12, I could be wrong, but he's somebody that I'm looking forward to see because really this Arizona State program since Herm Edwards has taken over I don't know. There's something a little different about the field where it's like they could potentially compete, and it's weird to really mention Arizona State as competing hard in the Pac-12. But with this shortened season, I mean, Herm Edwards could take advantage of this, make his program a top 25. Who knows? Maybe they could potentially win out the Pac-12. This Sun Devils team is I think a quiet team to watch out for. I'm excited to see how it goes. For him because he could potentially be, when it's all said and done, a future first-round draft pick. He has so much mobility and such great arm talent. They just got to work the offense better. I mean, obviously it's a spread offense. You really want to, try to take it deep. Obviously, Arizona has produced first-round draft pick receivers, Brandon Ayuk, N'Keal Harry. So let's see what Jaden Daniels is able to bring to the table and step up another level for Arizona State. I think they're the one team I'm excited about. Because really, I can't really make out who's going to win the Pac-12. It's been a bit of a wild card conference. So between Oregon or even if Stanford for some reason wakes up this year, we have to see maybe if this is the year UCLA fires Chip Kelly. So there's so many variables that I'm excited for. But I think Arizona State is the one team with the one quarterback that I'm excited to see his progression in year two.
Absolutely. I think Arizona State showed some great flashes last year, particularly in their upset win against Oregon. And, I think they've climbed just a little higher and a little higher every year with Herm Edwards. But what do you think, Okelo? Is it possible for a Pac-12 team to make the playoffs?
It's so hard. I mean, the last team that did it was Washington back in 2016. But obviously that was a really good Washington Huskies team when Chris Peterson had Jake Browning at quarterback. It's all going to depend on, I think, how good are some of these victories. Obviously, there's only one or two teams right now that are ranked in the Pac-12, which I believe are USC and Oregon. So you're not going to get the quality of victory, say if like the Pac-12 was playing an SEC team or the Pac-12 was playing a Big Ten team at the beginning of the year. But if a team's undefeated, I mean, you got to give it a chance because we have to watch out with Florida and Georgia because that 1-loss record or 2-loss record soon could be dripping in red paint. And then maybe if Cincinnati doesn't lose another game, you have to factor in them too because they've been looking pretty strong as a non-group of 5 team. So it's like, which way is the demographic going to go? So it's a variable on those 2 SEC teams, Notre Dame, as well as the fact of, okay, can you produce like great victories over some of these teams and over Cincinnati that could maybe factor in. So it's only those variables to me that will define if the Pac-12 can get back into the college football playoff. But I believe that there's a chance because, like I said, you have Florida and Georgia who are kind of wavering. You have Notre Dame in the mix, and it's all if Cincinnati can maintain that. They're basically holding strong for the Power 5 conferences. They're number 6. So if they can find a way to creep in, if they don't break it, that'll be the difference maker.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Like Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber.
Robert, what do you think? Is it possible for a Pac-12 team to make the playoffs, given that they're starting their season in November?
I can't see it. I mean, Oregon doesn't play a ranked team at this point. USC doesn't play a ranked team at this point. So you're not going to get the quality wins you need. Right now, it's pretty locked in. It's probably going to be Alabama. It's going to be Ohio State. It's going to be Clemson. And then the fourth is probably going to be Probably going to be Georgia. I think right now the problem is there's just so little time to get these quality wins. You have 7 games. I don't think any of those other Pac-12 teams are going to be ranked unless they beat Oregon or USC and they get an upset. But right now, no, I just don't see it. Oregon's 12th, USC's 20th. I just don't see it happening. They're not going to get the quality wins they need. They're not going to move up that high. Depending on what happens, if, some of these bigger teams start taking losses, sure, I mean, they'll drop, but it would take a miracle for Oregon, who's probably the most likely to make the playoff. It's going to take a miracle for Oregon to get in.
Absolutely. Because, I think even, let's say Clemson loses to Notre Dame, I think, it's going to have an asterisk by it because they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. Now Trevor Lawrence comes back and they win out. First of all, a one-loss Clemson probably makes the playoffs either way. But when you subtract Trevor Lawrence from their one loss and then put him back in, Clemson feels like an absolute lock to make the playoffs. So I've got Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State. But guys, that 4th spot is very up for grabs. Big 12 is out of it. I think the winner of Florida, Georgia right now is who I have to give that spot to, which right now I'm going Florida. So I'm going Florida.
You're going for the Gators.
I'm going for the Gators because right now this Georgia offense looks terrible. And if it's playing like it is right now against Florida, Florida's going to win, and it has potential to get ugly.
But, for Dan Mullen, this team could have won out if they didn't lose to A&M. To me, this is the big game for him, and I'm afraid that Dan Mullen hasn't risen up to the task because the last couple times he's played Georgia, he ain't won it. What makes this year so different? He can't get over Kirby Smart's defense, and I feel outside of Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts, this offense is one-dimensional right now for Florida.
Well, then what do you call Georgia's offense?
Stuck in a weird transition because a lot of their players are out.
Yeah, that's putting it lightly. I can't see Florida winning the SEC championship against Alabama. So you're looking at a 2-loss team making the playoffs. But I think that's ultimately what you're going to be looking at no matter who you put in. I think the only way the winner of Florida, Georgia doesn't make the playoffs is if Cincinnati runs the table.
Which will be hard.
It will be hard. Okay, who are your 4 playoff teams right now today before we get into our Beast Bust and Best of the Week?
I think right now, if we're talking before Saturday happens, I have to go Clemson 1, Ohio State 2, Alabama 3, and then Notre Dame 4. But I think that's going to change this weekend because I see Notre Dame beating Clemson, regardless of what people say. I think Notre Dame can run the table the rest of the season. As much as I hate to say it as much with it, the Fighting Irish just have a good chance. They're playing quality opponents. Having an ACC schedule does help that. So I think if forbidding Notre Dame doesn't lose maybe 1 or 2 games, I think that they can run out and be able to make the playoff. And if they lose, I really do believe that Cincinnati has a chance. Because they're playing extremely well. They're the best Power 6 team. They look like they can play anybody. I think it would be great for college football if they get in. But right now, I just have to say those are my top 4 with Notre Dame going to eventually change once they beat Clemson.
Absolutely. Robert, lock it in. Who's your top 4?
For me, it's Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia. I think that's what it'll end up being.
Perfect. All right. Let's get into our Beast, Bust, and Best of the Week. Robert, who's your Beast of the Week?
My Beast of the Week is Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford has been real good the last 3 weeks. He's thrown a lot of touchdowns. I think he threw 3 touchdowns this past weekend. He's been great. It looks like vintage Matt Stafford, and it's great to see because, this Lions team has been so underwhelming for so long, and he's making do with the receivers he has. Now Kenny Golladay is kind of week to week at this point, so he loses a receiver there. But he's been doing great, and I think the Lions, while they're still third in the NFC North, I think they're a team that has a lot of promise moving forward. And I think a lot of the questions about, should they retain Matt Stafford? Should they let him go? I think they've been answered. He fits really well in that Lions offense, and he's the leader of that team. and he's been playing real well. And I foresee it continuing. He's really been. I mean, if you pay attention to fantasy, he's really been one of the better quarterbacks these last few weeks. So he's absolutely my beast of this week, and I see him continuing it as the season goes on.
I'd agree. He's been an absolute beast. Okelo, who is your beast of the week?
Well, even though we talking great of the NFC North, as well as the fact that, even Matt Stafford took an L. I mean, what a game he had. But I'm going to stick to a guy that got the W and who had his beast week, John, and I think you could agree with me, Dalvin Cook. And I'm sorry that it had to be against your Packers, but 4 touchdowns, 120 yards rushing. It didn't even matter if Kirk Cousins threw the ball because Dalvin Cook, this is the Vikings offense. Just give it to him, and how are you going to tackle that guy? I mean, what a game Dalvin Cook had, in a stunning upset, being the first Minnesota Viking to score 4 touchdowns since Ahmad Rashad, and we all think that he was in basketball. He was an NFL player. I love Dalvin Cook this week. He's my beast. I mean, he basically has revitalized the Minnesota Vikings, and hopefully this will carry their momentum to maybe save Mike Zimmer's job, save Kirk Cousins, and who knows, maybe they can find a way maybe into that 7th slot in the postseason. Dalvin Cook is my beast of the week.
No doubt he was a beast. I don't appreciate that beast, and I don't appreciate you reminding me of what happened on Sunday. So we're going to move on. My beast of the week is Xavier Howard. Sorry to do it to you, Robert, but the man leads the league in interceptions, and he got another one on Sunday against Jared Goff, getting the big upset win against the LA Rams. So Xavier Howard is my beast of the week. Robert, who is your bust of the week?
Yeah, I think it's got to be any of the Cowboys. The Cowboys' offense is terrible right now, with the exception of Michael Gallup, who Ben DiNucci seemed to find some comfort in, sort of how Andy Dalton found some comfort in CeeDee Lamb. It's just a real big gamble at this point with the Cowboys. I don't like this Cowboys offense at all. I think with Dak out for the season, they're done. It's over. They look terrible against the Eagles. Amari Cooper put up a little over 4 points in fantasy. Ezekiel Elliott put a little bit over 8. They've been awful these past few weeks. And they're just too boomer bust at this point for me to say that there's any hope with this Cowboys team. Their defense looked pretty good against the Eagles. Not saying much, it's the Eagles, but I think this Cowboys team, especially the offense, I think you have to, as a collective whole, you just have to put it as a bust. They're terrible. They're real bad, and they're playing the Steelers this week. It's not going to end well.
Yeah, absolutely. As an Amari Cooper owner myself, it is very frustrating, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. Okelo, who is your bust of the week?
Staying in the great Midwest, I got to go across the Great Lakes to Michigan football. Every time Jim Harbaugh seems like he has it, he's let his grip go. I mean, you lose to Michigan State out of all teams unranked. And just when you beat Minnesota, I mean, this is horrible. I have to go with them because they had an opportunity to show like, okay, Jim Harbaugh may have something this year. But again and again, 1-6 all time when it's Michigan State and Ohio State at the Big House. Are you kidding me? I was looking forward to Michigan maybe saying this year might be different. Maybe they might have a chance to beat Ohio State. But every time Jim Harbaugh, again and again, he's like the one girlfriend where you think that she's just going to keep doing you better, but she breaks your heart at the end.
He hasn't changed.
On you. He hasn't changed. Same old Michigan football, same old Jim Harbaugh. I'm done with the heartbreak. Michigan, I've had it with you. And I'm staying away from y'all until maybe Jim Harbaugh's gone, or maybe if Jim Harbaugh turns back the clock or something. They're my bust of the week because you can't lose to Michigan State. Like, come on, man. This is a rebuilding program with Mel Tucker as their head coach. That should have been an easy W. Michigan, bust of the week.
No doubt. Huge bust. Can't say I was surprised. I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid this year. I called it the week before. I said they're going to beat Minnesota. They're going to look good. They're going to make you think this is the year. And they're going to lose to a team they shouldn't lose to. So, great bust of the week. My bust of the week is the Tennessee Titans. I get you had a devastating loss to the Steelers the week before, but this was the perfect opportunity to bounce back against a rookie quarterback and a team that's, really still rebuilding in the Cincinnati Bengals. And you take a big, devastating loss. You made Joe Burrow look like Peyton Manning, and now you're letting the teams below you in that division creep back in with like the Indianapolis Colts. So the Tennessee Titans are my bust of the week. Robert, who is your best of the week?
My best is honestly, I think it's got to be Clemson. No shock. I mean, listen, they played Boston College. They should be beating that team. But with so many people hitting the panic button in the first half, saying, "Oh, see, look, they need Trevor. They're nothing without Trevor." They responded real well in the second half, and they took that victory pretty decidedly. Defense stepped up, offense stepped up. DJ Uiagalelei in his first game looks great. I think when Trevor Lawrence graduates and gets drafted next year by the Jets, I'm sorry, but it's probably going to be the Jets. I think it's going to be in good hands with DJ. I think he's got a real bright future. He looked good. I was very impressed, and he's only going to get better. And so Clemson is in real good hands after Trevor Lawrence. So, with Trevor Lawrence still out due to coronavirus, I think Clemson has to be the team of the week. I mean, I know right now they're one of the favorites in college football, but I think just because of the circumstances where you think Trevor Lawrence is that entire team, and he is a very good portion of that team, I think the fact that DJ was able to step up in his first game and lead that team to victory, I think very, very much impressed me. And I'm interested to see what happens against Notre Dame this week. This is their real big test with Trevor Lawrence out.
Yeah, no doubt. It wasn't always pretty, but they found a way to win, and that's what great teams do. Okelo, who is your best of the week?
It's glad I've been wearing the helmet the couple days, but I think it's time I bring out the authenticity of the terrible towel. The Pittsburgh Steelers best of the week. They beat Lamar Jackson. I kept telling people when Ben Roethlisberger comes back and with the defense, they are going to make Lamar Jackson panic. They made him throw 2 interceptions, got a defensive touchdown. Ben Roethlisberger playing in the clutch. Game winner to Chase Claypool. And, of course, they're also my best because they took Avery Williamson from the Jets, bringing him over to Pittsburgh with the loss of Devin Bush, who I think is going to play tremendously, the #1 defense in the land with one of the best offenses, and your remaining only undefeated team in the NFL, your best team that's going to continue to feast until we get to the Super Bowl, John. That's how I feel.
Absolutely. Love your enthusiasm. It's great to have you both on. And, this has been really fun. I hope we can do it again soon. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to another great week of football. Can't wait to see how it plays out. Thank you guys again, and have a great day.